Welcome to Sleepless and Sacred Art, Nostalgia Replaces REM Cycles. I'm Kitty.
And I'm Ange.
And we haven't slept
in 30 years.
This is a podcast about the 90s Disney cartoon Darkwing Duck, where even for cartoon animals, high school is the orchestra pits, where kids get bullied into being a hero and a villain and never make the connection until someone else draws on their yearbook, and where horse do-overs are enjoyed by all. That's right, today we're all alumnus of this Clash reunion.
Very good. Very nice. I liked it.
Thank you. Yeah, so here we are, guys. Clash reunion. We finally got here. This is our 40th anniversary. Wait, is it? No. 30-something high school reunion?
20.
Darkwing Duck. And...
Oh, do you mean the TV show or actually in universe?
I don't know. I don't know what I mean. It's okay. We didn't graduate. We played hooky. We were out back smoking with probably another supervillain that Darkwing didn't realize he went to high school with, like Hammerhead Hannigan. But yeah, this is an interesting episode. I'm excited to talk to you about it. Do we have any announcements or anything before we get going?
I guess just a brief announcement that they have released covers for issue 8 of Dynamite Darkwing Duck comic series. So they're still, they haven't really said how long it's going for. It just seems to be mysteriously ongoing for as long as we know. And I showed you some of the covers. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they are, and it seems like Dynamite keeps getting more and more Disney properties to make comics about, because I saw someone posted somewhere a Hades comic, from the Disney Hercules cartoon.
They're doing a whole villain series, so they've currently already started up one on Scar, which is, I think, a 4-issue miniseries. It's like a prequel to the first movie, and then, yes, they're going to be releasing one about Maleficent, Hades, and I want to say Ursula, but don't quote me on that.
Oh, I'm quoting you. Well, yeah, so that just seems to bode well that Disney is giving them all these other properties to make comics about, so it seems like possibly they'll have Darkwing going for a while.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where it goes, because we've only covered, issue 4 was the last one we covered, and this is way ahead to issue 8, and they only give you little sparse details about it. But it seems to be very Justice Duck oriented in the stories, which is interesting because the Justice Ducks basically only appeared in their one episode, the 2-parter, and then they were never heard from again. So I'm curious to see,
Darkwing finally learned the power of teamwork and then was immediately nah.
It sounds like in the description he once again forgot about the power of teamwork, but you know what? I could see that,
I feel like that's a lesson he learns multiple times and then forgets.
Yeah, so. That checks out. Oh, and also they are compiling the first 6 issues into a trade paperback, which is, I forget when it's going to be released, but it's already up for pre-order, and there's 3 different covers. One is a hardcover, I think one is a soft cover, and one is a hardcover with Amanda Dybert's autograph on it.
The art is all the same?
Yes, the covers.
The egg body one?
One is the egg body cover. One is the other cover by the same artist where he's buried in the rubber duckies. And then the other one is, I forget who drew it, but it's him in the sky. That's the one that I pre-ordered. And it was, I think it also happens to be the one that's the hardcover that Amanda signs. It wasn't very expensive. I think it was only, again, don't quote me, I want to say it was about $40 American, which isn't too bad for a hardcover. Oh. With 6 issues. Foul Play is what the entire arc is called. Which is interesting because it sounds like Foul is indeed involved. But up to this point, we've only really seen the Fearsome Five. So I wonder if the Fearsome Five have either joined Foul or they are working for them, or if that's just a coincidence.
Mysteries abound.
Yes, and we will find out, I guess, next week, because the comic issue 6 is coming out as of us recording this in like 3 days. Wednesday? Yeah. So it's May still. Hang on. May 24th. Yes, May 24th. So we'll be covering issue 5 very, very soon. After this episode, I guess, technically. This beautiful episode that we can now continue to talk about, which, if I recall correctly, is from your pick of origin stories.
Yes. And it's a fun one. Well, let's dive on in here. If you would like to watch Clash Reunion, it is on Disney Plus Season 2, Episode 6. Megavolt plans to destroy the high school reunion. But I'm just picking up on this now, which I'm sure it was doing the whole time. When you click on the episode itself, it actually gives you a longer description. So I think the one that I had read last time that was pretty comprehensive was the full description from when you clicked on it. So the full description of this one: Darkwing realizes that the nerdy kid he went to school with is his feared enemy Megavolt. History is repeating itself as Megavolt plans to destroy the high school reunion.
It's Carrie and Carrie 2 all over again.
It is. And you had mentioned to me that some people have complained that the Darkwing Duck episodes on Disney Plus are blurred. I hadn't noticed it, but I did notice it on this episode.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a weird halo effect I saw some people complaining about, and other people were saying, well, maybe it's an anti-piracy thing if you try to either screen record off Disney Plus or anything, I guess, exported off there, but I don't know for sure. I've seen a few complaints about the quality of the Disney Plus episodes.
Thing is, too, is I usually watch it on the TV, on the app on the TV, but this time I watched it on my laptop. I wonder if it only does it on computers.
Maybe because they know that people can screenshot on computers really easily compared to... But that kind of sucks, because if all you have is a laptop or you like to travel, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of being able to access it from anywhere?
I mean, it's not unwatchable. It's just it's softer looking. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's just something I didn't notice until you mentioned it, which, I'm not a terribly observant person, so it'd be, but I just wanted to share that. I thought that was interesting.
I guess anyone out there who watches on Disney Plus, if you want to let us know your thoughts, if you've noticed any differences between perhaps the DVDs and the old school recordings from VHS, let us know.
Go way back to a full scientific study that Elmo Sputterspark would be proud of.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's that, and let's hop on in here. So the episode opens with Gosalyn cleaning house in Monopoly versus Launchpad, where she's fully prepared to carry his dead over into real life when Drake bursts into the house and everything gets forgotten. Thankfully, Launchpad is not forever in debt to a child, as far as we know. He's going through his mail, and there's something that really excites him, and it's not the letter from Ed McMallard. And here, I know we just went down one little tangent. I'm going to go down a different one because I went down a rabbit hole. Because I'm like, I don't even know if Ange knows Ed McMahon or anything like that.
No, I don't.
So American folks may remember some commercials for Publishers Clearinghouse, which was one of those, like, you could win money scam type sales pitch thing. Something basically that very exciting commercials were made about, and people would show up to the house with a giant check and they're like balloons and a camera and bands, and they'd be like, oh my god, I won so much money from Publishers Clearinghouse. All you have to do is send in a check in the mail, kind of thing. And we remember an actor named Ed McMahon on those commercials. I know that's the connection that I made with this throwaway gag. Did you, American listeners of a certain age? Well, we're wrong. All of us. This is apparently a big Mandela effect because Ed McMahon never had anything to do with Publishers Clearinghouse. He did, however, have to do with American Family Publishers, which, to be fair, did the same thing, only sold magazine subscriptions and you could win money and all that kind of stuff too. So anyway, this just kind of blew my mind a bit because it's like, oh, yeah, McMahon, Publishers Clearinghouse, and apparently it's a very common thing. So that Snopes wrote a whole big write-up about it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's me. I'm one of these people. So, sorry to non-Americans and folks too young to know anything about what I'm rambling about. But
all these scams have now turned to the internet where you get the emails about winning stuff.
Yeah. Not quite Nigerian prince, but hey, pretty close. So that's that, and back to ducks. Darkwing has gotten an invitation to his high school reunion, and boy, oh boy, is he pumped. He slams his old yearbook down right on top of the game that Gosalyn and Launchpad are still playing, to assault them with his memories. Gosalyn's like, run for it, he's gonna reminisce. And Launchpad tried to make a break for it, with Launchpad, like, trying to climb away over the back of the couch. Drake, without even blinking, grabs them both and, like, yanks them back and makes them stay, completely just undeterred by them trying to run away from him. He gets to go on about how popular he was and how all his friends were so cool, like Hamstring, the captain of the football team, and his girlfriend Prina Lot. So many puns in these names. I love it. And then he points to himself with, like, a mop of messy hair. And Launchpad and Gosalyn both don't seem convinced that he was as cool as he claims he was. We get a bit of a flashback from Drake displaying how he was a master detective even back then, as he grills his classmate about a missing pencil and then kind of launches a full-blown quote-unquote investigation into the case of the missing pencil.
Even then, my analytical abilities were razor sharp. So, Lenny, if that's your real name, you claimed the last time you saw your pencil, it was on your book. But the pencil is no longer there. Aha! Ergo, the pencil has been stolen. That's right, Lenny. Solving this felony will be dangerous. But Mrs. Waddlesworth left me in charge so I can do whatever I want. You, where were you last night? A likely story. How many pencils did you have when you came to school, pal? Don't leave town. Aha! The chuck. Perhaps you use pencils to keep score with? Ha! Ha! Go!
I didn't do nothing. Got it? Drake the dweeb?
Go on, Ham. Tweak his beak.
An excellent point.
Wherein he just kind of goes off the rails because apparently the teacher left him in charge and he's gone absolutely mad with power. Like, he's just, like, cackling that he could do whatever he wants, which checks out. Also, the fashions in these scenes are something else.
70s, early 70s.
Definitely 70s. So, like, Drake is in a pink shirt and striped green bell bottoms with a big gold medallion around his neck. It's pretty.
I've seen
pretty
photos
fabulous.
of my parents wearing similar fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
It's real.
It's just like it's definitely a look, and I feel like they did a pretty good job of capturing that in just like these few little scenes. In his investigation of the mystery of the missing pencil, he accuses Ham of stealing the pencil to keep score at sports games, and Ham picks him up like he weighs nothing. And he calls him Drake the dweeb for not the first, or well, I guess for the first and not the last time. And Prina tells him to tweak his beak, which then Ham does, which is basically he just grabs his bill and
boing,
pulls it down and goes boing like a spring. Drake, apparently a lot of people like to do that to Drake. I don't know if I met Drake in real life, I might too. Shut up. Boing, boing. Drake then tries to hypnotize Ham, but winds up hypnotizing himself. And the kid who lost his pencil finds it under his desk. You know, also checks out that Darkwing is not as a good a detective as Darkwing thinks he is.
Mm-hmm.
Drake is frozen in his hypnotized state as the entire class takes turns tweaking his beak. Even the science nerd Elmo Sputterspark, who, Ange, did you notice what he's wearing?
I noticed he has a mullet.
He does. But he has a tiny tie. Got one. In the present, Gosalyn is looking at the yearbook and is immediately like, he looks familiar, and draws goggles on him. And Drake flips out that she drew on his yearbook, and ask if she's ever heard the story of the little girl, the marking pen, in the pit of eternal flame. Chill as always. But Gosalyn has finished her defacing the picture and added the little plug cap and the goggles and the whole thing, and Darkwing can't even deny, but is shocked, to realize that he went to school with Megavolt. Meanwhile, it's Megavolt time, baby! They have also invited Megavolt to the reunion, which leads me to believe that he has his lighthouse hideout as his mailing address for Elmo Sputterspark.
I think that's a reasonable thing, so...
I don't think that he would, be smart enough. Well, he is smart enough, but I don't think that he would have the common sense to have a P.O. box. So he's probably just, all mail for, puts a forward notice at the post office, all mail for Elmo Sputterspark, please, forward to Megavolt at Giant Lighthouse or this cell in the county jail. So, hey, there we go. He is stomping around, woeing is me, because he has nothing to wear to reunion. He ends it all with, why was I made to suffer so? He's magnificent. For the little light bulb he's holding tells him to wear his costume, and he kisses it for being brilliant. And then we get a little Elmo flashback. Teenage Elmo has quite a head of hair, as you mentioned. He's got a little mullet action going on, and he's got the full-on goofy physique going. But he's got a pink button-up shirt, blue pants, and big old brown loafers. And he goes on about how he was degraded and abused, but is super wistful and nostalgic about it. He's like, oh, those were the days. And Ham is bullying him, and he tells him to stop accosting him. And Ham, at Prina's suggestion, just kind of slaps him to the ground. He tries to fight, but just winds up getting thrown in the garbage can. But all of that changed on a fateful January or June day, because he can't remember. Elmo was working late in the lab, harnessing the power of static electricity by running on a treadmill covered in carpet, is drawing everything to him with static electricity, like papers and all this kind of stuff. Is making a little light bulb he's got hooked up to a glow. Ham and Prina just kind of burst into the science lab to bully him for no reason. And Ham is the worst and just kind of tapes him to the treadmill and cranks up the speed, and they both leave cackling. It's just, okay, then perish. And poor Elmo is stuck there running for either 15 minutes or 2 hours, because both hands on the clock look really long. I'm gonna say it's probably, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, because that's more dramatic. But it would also be very funny if Megavolt was turned into a supervillain by having to run on a treadmill for 15 minutes. I mean, kind of hard same. So yeah, he's running for an indeterminate period of time until the light bulb explodes and he flies off the treadmill. Elmo, to his credit though, he's not deterred. He's not even kind of upset about it. He's chalking it up as a fantastic scientific experience and is set to carry on his mundane little life when he touches the doorknob of destiny, believe, and gets electrocuted. Which makes his eyeballs go to 2 different sizes and makes his hair floof out into an afro. And he starts threatening the door and blasts it with electricity out of his fingers.
Kind of implies that maybe that's why he wears the big rubber gloves. Perhaps he can't touch metal with his bare hands.
That could be. It's also very fashionable. He does have goggles on for a split second. In just one of those weird in-between things. I guess he decides to take them off. He's like, oh no, not yet. Elmo declares that this is what he always wanted. The ability to entertain people of cocktail parties.
Me too.
But then decides to take the revenge instead. In the present, Drake is connecting the dots. Elmo apparently disappeared before graduation, and Megavolt crashed the senior prom. Gosalyn is like, wait, you've been fighting Megavolt since high school? Don't you think you should have beaten him by now? And Drake is like,
It all makes perfect sense. Elmo Sputterspark disappeared just before graduation. And that's when Megavolt made his first appearance. I fought him at the senior prom.
You've been fighting Megavolt since high school?
Yeah, what of it?
Don't you think you should have beaten him by now, Dad?
You could have beaten him by now, Dad? Scoff if you will, little missy. But I saved St. Canard High that night.
And then it's like, shut up, I'm gonna tell you about how I saved prom. Oh my gosh. Too funny. He's the worst. But also the best.
It's great.
Little Drake at the punch bowl is asking some girls to dance with him, and they tell him to get lost. Megavolt bursts in through the door and declares himself Megawatt, but the Kiss-looking band on stage says, hey, that's our name. And he's like, oh, okay, how about Megavolt? It's pretty funny. It should be said that he is basically wearing his usual costume, without, like, the cap and the battery and all that stuff, but he's got the big, fluffy hair going on. And he tells them that he's going to destroy the school and everyone in it and starts zapping. Most of the school does get out, but a few people get trapped. Drake tries to stop him, but misses and winds up dumping the punch bowl on Ham, who just bodily throws him through the stage curtain. Ham squares up to fight Megavolt, and Megs makes him dance cowboy style by zapping around his feet. I think we should have just let Megavolt have this one.
If only.
Backstage, Drake says that he won't be taken seriously as himself, so he grabs some costume pieces and cobbles together his first iteration of his Darkwing costume, which is kind of like the suit that he was wearing to prom with, like, a pimp hat.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's got, like, a big pink feather in it, and a mask, and a cape. But also at prom, he was wearing pants, and now he's not.
Yes.
Drake said, no one will recognize me without my pants. And for however many years, he's right. Anywho, he's got a nice breeze going on. He grabbed some smoke bombs from a recent school production of McBeak and then starts thinking up a name. And this is a gag that happens quite a lot in the show, and I enjoy it every time. Basically, he kind of, talks himself into, oh, I need to have something dark, and with, like, wings of terror and all that stuff. And he's like, how about the really scary fast thing? And then which is the Purple Poultry, the Web-Footed Wonder, the Quackmeister, and Captain Quackazoid. As Drake is making these very important decisions backstage. Megavolt is outside swinging Ham around in the air, kind of like an electric lasso. I don't really know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. He's having the best time. And then he tells them that they're all chemistry. Like, no, math. And then, history. He's definitely at peak Megavolt in this episode. It's spectacular. But then a cloud of smoke appears at the top of a ladder. And then we get our I am the terror that claps in the night. I am the grade curve that gives you an F. I am Darkwing Duck. He swoops in and actually kicks Megavolt this time. And Megavolt tells him, you may be tough, but I'm not. Or something. And he starts blasting at him, but Dark reflects the voltage at the disco ball that crashes down on Megavolt, trapping him inside. Everyone cheers for Darkwing, and he gives a very dramatic speech before poofing away. Like, the Shadow knows type, very serious speech. And he's very proud of himself before he disappears. And then Drake, in Clark Kent style, comes wandering in like, my goodness, what did happen in here? He plays dumb. He does a really good job of playing dumb because he sounds really dumb. The popular kids of the Darkwing is the coolest, and they get one more beak tweak in before the flashback ends.
Probably the only time anyone thought Darkwing was the coolest.
Yeah, right? He peaked early. Drake anticipates that Megavolt will return to try to get his revenge, so he takes Launchpad to the reunion. It's it. Launchpad, it has to be said, is not wearing a tiny tie, so crimes continue to mount in this series. Drake is saying that at least he convinced Gosalyn to stay home, just as Gosalyn runs up from behind them trying to get to the punch bowl. Drake scolds her, and Ham wanders up, throwing the Drake the Dweeb nickname in his face. He's like, still can't get a date, huh? And he's just like constantly knocking Drake on the ground. And then he brags that he's the president of the Colossal Cosmetics Company, but then gets elbowed by Prina, who is actually the president. So good for her.
She wears the pants in this relationship. Let's be real.
She sure does. It's kind of like a like the tropey relationship with like the gangsters, where there's the little mean one who's the boss and the big dumb one who does everything they say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Prina and Ham. But she is terrible. She saunters over to Drake, who is still on the ground, dusting himself off, and says, "How does it feel that, financially speaking, I could crush you like a bug?" High school reunions.
That's what I would say if I was a rich person.
Right. Not even, "Hey, hello." It's, "How does it feel to know that I could financially crush you like a bug?" Cool. "Hi, how's it going?" And then tells Ham to tweak his beak, because some people never change. Gosalyn calls Drake out on being a dweeb and not being popular, and Drake deflects by going into hyper-vigilant mode, waiting for Megavolt to burst in, but apparently just stays in the same, crouched stance position for 6 solid hours. It's a hell of a long reunion, either way. But of course, in peak comedy of Darkwing Duck, Megavolt is actually there. And is standing at the table, getting food for himself, and he's standing right next to Launchpad. So I have to imagine that he showed up, at the beginning of the reunion, is just been kind of, mingling around. Because that would be really funny. And
I think that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. And of course, mingling, he's just, talking to, the floodlight and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so, he's standing there, and Gosalyn and Launchpad are chowing down at the buffet, and Launchpad tells Drake to try one of these horse do-overs.
Is that a thing? Is that an American thing?
No, it's hors d'oeuvres.
Oh, I call them hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres, yes. So horse do-overs is the Launchpad way. And Megavolt is just standing there getting food too, and asks for the horse do-overs.
Okay, it's been 6 hours. Think there's a slim possibility that I may have been mistaken.
Don't let it get you down, Dad. It's not the first time you've been wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, DW, try one of these horse do-overs. They're pretty good.
I was sure Megavolt would hit this reunion.
Are there any more horse do-overs?
Right over there.
Thanks, Launchpad.
No problemo, Megavolt.
I paused it on the Megavolt, and they all look super crazy.
As they should.
Pretty great. But yeah, it's just such a perfect, silly little thing where it's just "Oh, hey, how's it going?" But it also tells us that Megavolt knows who Launchpad is.
He does. He might be the only person who actually bothers to call him. Yeah, by his proper name and everything.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Megavolt, I guess, just needed the power of hordivores. And he hops up on the stage and basically reprises the "I'm going to destroy the school and everyone in it, you know the drill," and everyone starts running away screaming, but before he can fire off any voltage, we get another "I am the terror," and he says, "I am the fast food that comes back to haunt you." And then Megavolt says, "Ever get that creepy deja vu feeling?" And he says, "Every time I lock you away, Mickey." Everyone runs out of the gym. It looks like it's being held in their old school, and they run out. And Prina forces Ham back inside, not wanting to miss another chance to see Darkwing in action. Darkwing, on the other hand, is getting electrocuted on stage. And Launchpad and Gosalyn rush up to help him, and Megavolt blasts the ground out from underneath them, sending them into the basement with the band equipment. Apparently, Darkwing's back on his feet and finally gets Megavolt under control. Megavolt asks again, "Ever get that creepy deja vu feeling?" Drake, with his foot on Megavolt's head, is "You shut up with the deja vu already." They're so funny. I love their dynamic too, because Megavolt can be very menacing, but I feel like they just kind of turn into bickering children every time that they're together, and I love it.
It's great.
Darkwing gets distracted by Ham, giving him an attaboy, and he and Megavolt start duking it out again, wherein Megavolt rips off Darkwing's mask.
Gasp!
And then both Ham and Prina start laughing their asses off. Megavolt joins in. They're just cackling and pointing, and it goes on for an uncomfortably long amount of time. I feel like it's brutal. It's really, you see Darkwing crumble into himself underneath it all, and he tries to prove that he's still a hero, and tries to swing into Megavolt and misses and slides down the wall. Megavolt is so, Not shocked. I don't know, but he's just so depressed that he doesn't even want to try to kill him anymore. And Drake just slumps into a corner, feeling sorry for himself and calling himself a failure and all that fun stuff. So Megavolt just settles for taking revenge on Prina and Ham and brings them outside. Gosalyn and Launchpad climb up from the basement instrument storage. Launchpad has a tuba on his head, and Gosalyn is like, come on, Megavolt is getting away. And Drake, in his typical dramatic self, he's like, what do you want me to do about it? And she just growls, stop him! It's beautiful. And I don't think I say it enough about how much I love Gosalyn. She's so funny. She is fantastic. Like, she is constantly roasting, but also kind of parenting Darkwing, it feels like.
She's very good at lighting the fire back under him when he needs it.
Kind of. Like, she doesn't super succeed in this episode, but she's just so, like, holds him to task for everything, and she's just so snarky. I love it. Yeah. I love me some Gosalyn. And so much of it is just Christine Cavanaugh.
Yes.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Darkwing continues to throw his pity party, and Gosalyn drags him outside. They're in the Thunderquack, and Gosalyn is trying to push him out of his funk. He's not going for it. He's just wallowing. Launchpad is like, oh, I bet Megavolt's in that abandoned glue warehouse, based on the hunch that he has as the whole thing starts lighting up with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
They land and hop out, but Drake continues to wallow, and Launchpad and Gosalyn are like, okay, we'll take care of him this time. Megavolt has Prina and Ham tied up inside a giant light bulb, because of course he does, and he's about to light them up when he confuses himself. There's a lot of... Megavolt jumps over a lot of hurdles mentally in this episode, and it's spectacular every time, just because of the performance of Dan Castellaneta, and I love it. I say it every time, and I'll say it. If I don't say it, that's how you know I'm a doppelganger, and you can shoot me.
Okay.
Thank you. That's my condition. He confuses himself, basically. He tries to figure out what he is.
At last, I'll have my revenge on those who tormented me. Those who made me what I am. What am I, anyway? A dentist? No. A lumberjack? No. King of the jungle? No.
You're okay now, folks. Let's go.
I can't remember what I do. For the love of heaven, someone, please, help me.
Psst, you're a super villain.
Oh, right. Thanks, buddy. Still gonna have to fricassee you guys. Rough break.
Smooth move, Launchpad.
And Launchpad and Gosalyn use this time to untie Ham and Prina, and as they're sneaking away, Megavolt, he's just completely desperate. He's like, what do I do? For the love of heaven, someone help me. Launchpad is like, psst, you're a supervillain. Gosalyn, like, jumps on his head to try to shut him up. And he's like, all right. And then he just catches them all and throws them all back into the giant light bulb.
Good job, Launchpad. Gosh.
You're just about as competent as Darkwing.
He should have told him that he was a very nice person and he was going to let everybody go.
But to be fair, that was very nice of Launchpad to help him. Because Megavolt was really going through it. But anyway, they're all tied up now. He starts lifting the platform with the light bulb on it and mentions that this is actually Dr. Slug's hideout and that he lent it to him, which is so nice. Look at that support in the supervillain community. It's like Lair B&B. You get to rent somebody else's, hideout for a week. I don't know.
I think Megavolt and Dr. Slug are pretty decent friends.
I feel like possibly what could be better than that is that everybody except for Negaduck is like really cool with Dr. Slug.
Yes.
Like Dr. Slug is like the cool guy that has like the really awesome parties, and he's just like, oh yeah, whatever, let's go hang out. Oh yeah, you can take that death ray. But Negaduck is like, I hate that man. He is his Gizmo Duck.
Yes.
The Darkwing. There it is. That's my pitch into the universe. Anyway, Dr. Slug, real bro. They all get lifted to the roof, and he tells them that they're basically going to get incinerated. So Megavolt continues his spree of trying to kill a child. And Gosalyn points out underneath them that there's some vats of rubber cement, because this is a glue factory, and they could dump it on Megavolt, but they're out of reach. Prina is kind of rude about it, but hey, she is right. They can't reach it. Meanwhile, Darkwing is cleaning out the thunderquack of all his gadgets and picking out some needy heroes that could use them. Captain Protozoa and Sponge Boy are apparently set to inherit the tower.
Oh.
He's so dramatic. When he notices Megavolt's plot and finally shakes himself out of it to help. Megavolt is having a great time tormenting his captives. And Darkwing marches up, and Megavolt says, "Hey, I thought you lost your confidence." And he says, "Well, maybe so, but I'm not going to lose my friends." And Megavolt is so happy that he hugs him. He's like, "It's so great to have you back." And Darkwing shoves him off. And there's a pretty decent fight scene for Darkwing. Like, because it's not really a show of great fight scenes, but this one was pretty good. That goes on, but basically ends with Darkwing getting knocked into the warehouse, and Megavolt finally getting his revenge on those meddling kids and their nosy dog, until he realizes that he knocked Darkwing down to where the rubber cement is, and he gets sprayed with it. And that is all they wrote about Megavolt. Getting rubber cement off is going to suck too. It's not going to be a great time. He could get high off himself, though. That's what I learned in school. Darkwing saves them all, and Brina and Ham apologize to him. They promise to keep his secret, but Darkwing has perfected his hypnosis and makes them forget that he's Darkwing. So there we go. He slaps the mask back on. Megavolt is like, "Yeah, but I know your secret identity. You're Rummel Sputterspark." Oh, he's Hamstring. Now that was the big guy. Oh, darn it. And we end with the Darkwing gang looking into the camera smugly. And that's it. That's the end. It's Clash Reunion.
Perfect. Did you notice that the banner at the reunion actually had the date of their graduating class?
No, I didn't.
It's the class of 1972.
Wow.
Which makes sense because this episode was made in 1992, and my understanding is that reunions are typically every 20 years.
Here we go. So if Darkwing was at least 17...
he'd be in his late 30s. He'd be about 37, 38. And that also makes him a boomer.
Oh, the biggest crime of all. But here we go. Mystery solved. As far as continuity and Darkwing Duck go, which, as we know, they don't really know each other. But yeah, overall it was a fun one. I love me some Megavolt, but overall I don't think it's one of my favorite episodes.
It almost makes too much sense compared to a lot of the anti-continuity stuff.
Mm-hmm. It is fun. I feel I really like Megavolt's whole thing in this episode. Just like the first scene of him like tormented over what he's gonna wear. He's just like melancholy, like super dramatic, walking around his hideout in a bathrobe. And we see that he's also like he's just got like a little splat of hair left on his head after all his big-haired glory in his youth. He does have a good time, and I do like that he just earnestly attended his class reunion, or even if it was just like 20 minutes or 15 minutes to like walk in, eat some food, and then he's like, "Oh right, I have to go destroy everything." That's just perfect Megavolt.
You earnestly attended your high school reunion?
I was not invited to my high school reunion.
No!
Which was interesting because it was held at a venue that's right across the street from where I live.
That's awful!
That's fine. I wouldn't want to go anyway. But it was just pretty funny. I was like, oh, it's right there. Okay. All right.
I mean, how do they even track down all the people that went to school at that time and where they are now? I mean, I guess it's easier with the internet, but I don't know how they did it in the 90s.
Yeah, there was like a mailing list, I would assume. Because there was there's reunion committees and stuff, of people who were like, oh, I'll keep in touch and all that stuff. But yeah, I think mine was like a Facebook invitation. If anybody I wanted to talk to in high school, I still talk to. Everybody else, goodbye. That's my outlook on it. Did you go to yours?
I don't think it's happened yet. As far as I'm aware, if it's every 20 years. Mine is not for another, oh God, I'm aging myself, another 2 years, I think.
I think mine was a 10-year reunion.
10-year?
Yeah.
I don't think we had a 10-year one because I never heard anything about it, and I've spoken to people since 10 years have passed and nobody mentioned it, so I don't know, maybe knowing my graduating year, we won't even bother. Who knows?
It's like, whatever. We did it.
The 20 year is approaching, and I need to hurry up and, become a famous supervillain so I have something to brag about.
So that you could financially crush people?
Yes, so I can walk up to them and ask them how it feels that I could crush them financially.
But it probably wasn't, nerd you bullied with your jock boyfriend.
No. I think that there is a common thread here between people who continue to be fans of Darkwing Duck 30 years later, and it may be that we're all a little kooky, and that's okay.
That's okay. It's fine. It's, you know what? Everyone else is boring. So how would you rate today's episode?
Out of 5, I'd give it maybe a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Overall thoughts, feelings, concerns.
You covered a lot of it, which is Megavolt is probably my favorite part. And I do like all the Drake Launchpad and Gosalyn moments as well. Like you said at the very beginning when she's like, oh no, he's gonna reminisce. And he just grabs them. Like it implies that this happens a lot and it's horrible every single time it happens. So I like all those types of, whenever they establish that kind of stuff in the show, it's always super great. And of course, Drake threatening her with the pit of eternal flame. Perfect.
Yeah, and I feel like everybody got to do a little bit of something this episode, too. It's not just like anyone was particularly set decoration. Like, Launchpad and Gosalyn both got to, like, have their little moments of, I'm helping, and let's go do this, and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And, of course, they get kidnapped, but hey. Like, everybody had a little bit of something funny to say or do, so...
Yeah, and I would consider this one of the episodes, fan-wise, that I think... If I were to list like the top 10 episodes that people refer back to when they're writing fanfic or doing their own stories, this is definitely one of them, because I've seen so many variations of people either referring back to this episode, or if they're doing anything with the Negaverse and they're trying to tell the version with Negaduck. I've seen people write versions of basically Clash Reunion, what would have happened in the Negaverse. So it's definitely had an impact on fans.
Yeah, for sure. And it's some sweet Megavolt lore. So, hey, all good. Yeah, I think I'm about the same, like 3 out of 5, maybe 3.5, because it is fun. But it's not as jam packed full of awesome as some of the other ones. I feel like Megavolt is a good standalone villain, but he always shines when he has a 5, at least, Quackerjack or somebody else with him. I feel like he plays really well with another villain, or the whole Fearsome 5 is fantastic together, but it's a fun one. And that's our thoughts. Thank you for joining us on this Clash reunion. We'll see you in 20 years, but before we do that, let's spin this wheel. You got any predictions?
Not this time. I'm gonna leave it up to fate.
Let's take a look what fate is dealing us. Oh, man. Speaking of, next time we'll be talking about time and punishment.
Oh.
I say Megavolt and a Quackerjack and so much Darkwing and Gosalyn goodness / badness.
Another one I'd consider to be a fandom anchor in terms of what people refer back to when they're making their own stories. This is a big one.
Yeah.
This is the one that inspired the whole genre of what if Gosalyn died?
It is, lots of people have planned her death just to move their stories along. There's quite a bit of Gosalyn dying in this show. At least 2 instances that come to mind. There's like the false origin with the archaeologist.
Secret origins, yes.
But yeah, this one, yeah. Excited. We'll do the comic next week, and then after that, it's time for Time and Punishment, Dark Warrior time.
So excited to see this
I am.
broken man.
I have to tell you, it was on the line between this and Waterway to Go.
Oh no.
I know, I was just like, oh, this could be really good, or this could be really, oh, yeah, it's really good. So I'm just really rejoicing that we don't have to watch Waterway to Go.
Another day.
I'm also sorry to say that our third host here is under the weather today. Jim couldn't make it. So we'll just have to soldier on without him. But yeah, so there we go. Next time we get grim and gritty and goofy because it is Darkwing. And remember, until then, that crime doesn't sleep, and neither do class reunions, I guess.
Don't tweak your beaks.
Don't do it.